Over the past 20 months, the COVID-19 virus has ravaged the planet. Even as I record this podcast in November of 2021, more new variants of the disease have started to spread. Millions have suffered and died from this illness because of poor public health infrastructure, as well as targeted misinformation campaigns online. Every major industry around the world has been affected. Lives have been permanently changed. Many workplaces are starting to experiment with in-home employment after the lockdown forced countless employees to leave public spaces. Two of the major industries that felt a huge impact from the pandemic were music production and live performances. As soon as mid-March of 2020, emergency lockdowns halted audiences from seeing their favorite performers, and performers from collaborating with any larger groups. Musicals both on and off Broadway were canceled until further notice, leaving thousands of cast and crew members suddenly out of work. Independent and major label recording musicians lost over 10% of royalty collections in 2020, in addition to losing the ability to perform for any crowd in person. To get a first-hand account of what pandemic life has been like for a working musician, I recently sat down with my cousin, Johnnie McBryde, the frontman who leads the incredible Austin black metal band Godshell. It's a wonderful day to sit down here with a local musician from Austin, Texas. I was wondering if you could just introduce yourself for those who haven't heard.
My name is Johnnie McBryde. I play in several bands across Austin. I've toured through several states, and it's been crazy.
Do you remember what it was like around March of 2020, talking to your musician friends, talking about what the future is going to look like?
Oh yeah. Well, here in Austin, we have, as you know, we have South by Southwest, right? So that was actually coming up. My band Godshell had a performance. It was March 13th. And right there at just the cusp of the lockdown is when we just everybody canceled right away. It was almost instantaneous. Traditionally, the music industry used to operate without having to worry about an incredibly infectious respiratory disease. Before the pandemic, live performances didn't implement public health guidelines simply because there wasn't much of a need to do so at the time. Touring companies could schedule events filled with tens of thousands of fans, and artists could connect and play music in the real world. The pandemic has radically transformed the industry. For starters, musicians have begun implementing many more digital pieces of content like social media promotions as well as live-streamed performances. According to a recent Variety article by Gordon Cox, quote, "All arts organizations are media companies. It is clear that the musicians who were hit hardest over the past 20 months have needed to become media creators themselves, just to have a source of income from their art." From a Variety article in May of 2021, writer Jason Boland describes how the film industry has transformed from their traditional 90-day release schedule, instead opting for much quicker access to theater blockbusters on streaming services. This idea of a quicker release schedule has put pressure on the music industry just as much as the film industry. Artists' main method of promotion is now social media, and in order to continue engagement with their audience, they need to make enough digital content to replace the live performances of the past. The pandemic hasn't just changed how art is spread to an audience, it has also radically changed the art itself. Thousands of performers could now speak to the current situation, giving a lot of musical context to an extremely complex and really unfamiliar situation. One of the most impressive artists to make pandemic-related content, in my opinion, is Marc Rebillet. His musical abilities are just out of this world, and his song Essential Workers Anthem encapsulates so much of the goodwill that people around the world wanted to give to the employees who are still at work during the pandemic. And I personally found it a great note to end this podcast. So with that, everyone please have a safe and healthy day.